Firstly, many gratitude to the principal and the students of the DPS for inviting me here and asking me to address and share my thoughts. This is the best tribute I believe that any soldier can get on behalf of the Indian Army. I'm representing the Army here, not as an individual, but just as a soldier. Today we have gathered here to pay tribute to the great soldiers of the Indian Army. And we all know what Vijay Divas means. It means Victory Day celebrations. So victory in Kargil signifies victory of bravery under extreme conditions, victory of determination to win at all costs, victory over enemies' evil intentions, victory of survival under toughest of conditions, victory of team spirit and training, and victory of spirit of the Indian soldier. 26 July 1999, after 2 months of brutal, fierce, ferocious battle in the icy peaks of Kargil, Indian Army defeated Pakistan Army, which had to withdraw. In this hard-fought battle, 527 Indian soldiers sacrificed their lives for the nation, but inflicted triple the number of casualties on the enemy. As we pay tribute to the soldiers and remember their sacrifice, we also need to commit to carrying the legacy of the soldiers forward by emulating their values. As the principal rightly pointed out that I should highlight some of the principles and values, what the Indian Army stands for, what we believe and what we do. I believe as a soldier, the biggest tribute the citizens can do to a martyr is not just by remembering them on a day or giving them flowers or the words. Yes, those are also needed. But beyond that, for the rest of the 364 days, the tribute you can do or every citizen can do is by carrying those values, those principles by which the Indian Army works by. I would like to compare, but definitely it's a common knowledge that Indian Army is one of the finest organizations which comes from the same pool of people, that is Indians, but are transformed into a different person when we go through the National Defense Academy or Indian Military Academy or any academy where this training takes place. So today I'm going to share with you some of these aspects which I believe each individual can carry in our heart and soul. And when we apply those values and principles, we become better as individuals, better as humans, and make India great. That is what is everybody's dream. So today I'm going to talk about 4 particular aspects. We all talk about patriotism. So today I'm going to add 4 aspects of patriotism which we all can imbibe and act on. The first being lead from the front. I, as an officer, right from the time I joined my training in NDA, we are told lead from the front. Do what you say. Practice what you preach. Don't just give orders. Climb that mountain. Okay, troops, go and climb that mountain. No. As a leader, I have to climb first and say, follow me. That means lead from the front. I was posted in the Siachen Glacier in 1996, and I would say it was one of the toughest tenures of the time. I was on a post at about 19,000 feet, where most of the mountaineers don't even go for a trek. And we had to live there for 6 months in an icy cave. The minimum temperature in December used to drop to minus 50. And surprisingly, the maximum temperature was minus 10. So minus 10 is the maximum temperature, not the minimum. Our food used to come once a week, once in 10 days. Newspaper once in 2 weeks. Letters once in 2 weeks, no TV, no electricity. The only contact with the world was a telephone line with our nearest post and a radio set to listen to some kind of entertainment and news. And every day was a challenge for two reasons. One was the weather, like I told you, snowstorms, blizzards, continuously can't even step out. And of course, the continuous firing, shelling, and the threat of the enemy. And let me tell you, I'm otherwise a very sound sleeper. I can sleep under any circumstances, even when the worst conditions are there. But for those 6 months, I could hardly sleep at night for the reasons I've told you. Because I knew that there was a duty to be performed. Every day, every second day, some of our troops had to go down to fetch our rations and kerosene oil, which used to light our lamps and our stoves. On one of these days, after a heavy blizzard, a patrol of about 6 men went down. They had to travel down 2 hours and come back 3 hours. That's the time it used to take to get our rations and kerosene oil for our survival. After about 3 hours, I got a frantic message from the troop leader that there was an avalanche and they all have fallen into the avalanche. I asked him, "Are you safe?" He said, "I am safe." I said, "Can you locate all your men?" He said, "I can hear their voices. I can't see them." By the time it was 6 o'clock in the evening, I called all the men of the post and said, "Okay, I'm nominating Havaldar X and I want to send a team to rescue this party which is fallen into the avalanche down below. Who all will volunteer?" 1 or 2 hands went up, but I needed 6 people. Everyone was hesitating. It was dark. Avalanche had happened. Usually one avalanche, after one avalanche, another avalanche follows because the snow is very loose. It was already dark. I knew what I had to do. I said, "Okay, Havaldar, step down. I'm going to lead the party. Whatever it takes. Now, who all will volunteer?" Immediately, 6 hands went up. We put on our equipment, took the ropes, took the torches and every equipment. It took us 2 hours to climb down. It took us 2 hours more to rescue the troops who were trapped. Luckily, they had minor injuries, some bit of frostbite, which we took care of. And that incident went off, luckily with no casualties. So this is what is leading from the front. Wherever you are, whatever you say, you have to do, and you have to do it first. This is my training. This is what I've learned, and this is what I've imbibed. And this is what I understand by patriotism, that lead from the front, That is the first thing I would like to share with you. The second thing I would like to share about patriotism is, what is patriotism? Patriotism means brotherhood. I was lucky to be born in an army family. My father was also in the army. He was in the veterinary corps. Then I joined the Sainik School, National Defense Academy, Indian Military Academy. All my life, I've never ever looked at a person's caste, creed, religion, north, south, language, or what have you. Neither has anyone looked at me in that way. India is one single living, thriving organism. So whether a person is Singh or Kumar or Khan or Robin, all are one. And that's what I've always seen in the Indian Army. We have our mandir, masjid, gurdwara, church, all together, and everyone prays everywhere. That is what is meant by brotherhood. That is what is meant by solidarity and unity. When we dissolve all the differences, I'm not talking about tolerating each other. I'm talking about respecting and accepting each other the way we are without looking at the surnames. So just imagine what kind of explosive growth India can have if we drop all these barriers which have been artificially created of hundreds of different caste and creed and religion and language and north and south and east or west. We are one. one India, one country, one people. I would urge all the students and everyone who is listening to me to commit yourself to accepting and respecting every individual who is there within these boundaries of this nation as one person, one human, and then you see what magic we can create together. The friction between these various divisions which you have creates a lot of problem. And if we have to look at a shining example of this solidarity, unity and brotherhood, then don't look further beyond Indian Army, because that's where that is a shining example of how people can live together, survive together, fight together, and still protect India. That is the spirit, I believe. So I would say patriotism means break down all these artificial barriers of class, caste, creed, and look at every human as a human and not judge anyone by his name or surname. Let me come to the third point. Patriotism means taking ownership. What is the meaning of taking ownership? Every soldier who stands on the border or is fighting the terrorists or helping people in the floods or earthquake is putting his own life at stake. Why? Sometimes he is giving his own life also. Why? Because I, as a soldier, believe I am accountable. I take ownership of my nation. I, as an individual, may be very small speck in a population of 1.3 billion people, but still, I take ownership for my country. This is my nation, and I'm committed to working for its safety and growth. And this is what is imbibed in our training, that each one of us is responsible to the country and each one of us takes ownership of this country. Now, let's see what happens in the world outside. When I say world outside, outside the cantonment or the training zones. Have you heard of this phrase, Mera Bharat Mahan? Yes, I'm sure you have. And how many of you would like to contribute to making the Bharat Mahan? I'm sure, yes. We all have that spirit. Let's move a little more forward. Have you heard of Mera Telangana Mahan? Or Mera Hyderabad Mahan? Or Mera Nacharam Mahan? No? Yeah. Your laughter is indicating that it's a no. So that is a catch. So you are all brimming with the spirit to make Bharat Mahan, but have no awareness or, let's say, ownership or responsibility to make either Nacharam or Secunderabad or Hyderabad or Telangana or UP or MP Mahan. How do you think a nation can become great or Mahan when the villages and towns and localities are not taken care of by its very own people, by its very own government, or by its very own citizens? We have a building called India, and everybody wants to make this building strong. But when I say that let us make each brick strong, or each pillar strong, or each rod of steel strong, no one seems to think about it. So today, I want to focus on this area as well. So I just want to ask you, how many times have you ventured beyond the boundary wall of your house to pick up trash or ask someone to do it? I'll tell you what I do. In my colony, I pick up my spade, walk around, clear the water logging, remove the dirt, and if there is something which is beyond me, I ring up GHMC and ask them to come and clear the trash, which they do after I call them up maybe 1 or 2 or 3 times. When the lockdown was happening in the initial stages, there were a lot of laborers who were moving about without food, begging for food, asking for food. I used to keep a lot of food packets for them. But apart from that, before giving them food packets, I mean ration, the rice and oil and all that, I used to go around my colony, ask them to contribute to some work in terms of clearing, in terms of digging, in terms of covering, make them do about an hour of work, and also give them that food which can sustain them. So this way I was helping the people in two ways. One was giving food and ration to the poor who needed it. Second was getting work done in my colony which was needed. And the third was the people who were getting the food was getting it with dignity and not just as alms, you know, ALMS, the alms, okay? So this is my sense of responsibility as a soldier. Like I said, so something which is imbibed in us in training, it never ends. So they say that you can take a man out of the army, but you cannot take out the army out of the man. So that's why I still feel I'm as committed, responsible, accountable to my country as I was. It's just I've changed my role. And it's not a surprise that wherever you go, you'll find most of the colonies, where it is Sainik Puri or defense colony or the people where army people reside, you'll find it more better maintained. But what I want to stress is we are not, or the soldier is not an alien, he's not from a different country. It is from the same pool of country. It is just that the training and the ethos has been put into us, drilled into us, and we feel motivated to do this. And I'm sure that each person in India can be brought to this level. And I'm glad that I have an opportunity to speak to the student and the school, which is, I believe, the foundation of every citizen. And a lot can be done in the schools, I believe, to inculcate and imbibe these values. And these are not theoretical values of a moral science book or a YouTube or a WhatsApp video, but I'm talking of something which is live, which is happening with our own citizens, our own soldiers, our own Indian Army is doing it every day, every day. So please think about it. The India beyond your boundary wall of your house is also India. Just as a soldier stands on the border and takes responsibility for India, you as a citizen can take responsibility from the boundary wall of your house to the boundary of the nation. Make it your own and build it as much as you would do of your own house. And when every citizen works like this, you can imagine what kind of country we can create. Are you with me?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank
Definitely.
you. Thank you. So this is my third point, that is patriotism means taking ownership and contributing to India in every possible manner. Let me come on to my fourth point. Patriotism means self-discipline. Now, discipline is something which is again deeply drilled into every soldier, every officer, and there is a meaning, I'm sure. Yes, when I was in the training, I was in the school, I was in the Sainik school, which is kind of a mini NDA. I used to feel, why do we have to do all this? Why do we have to stand in a line? Why do we have to, fall in together? Why do you have to move in an organized manner? But I can tell you, all this makes a lot of sense. All this has got a lot of rationale and logic, because without discipline, nothing can move. If PV Sindhu has to win an Olympic medal, she has to take on self-discipline of working for 6 hours. If there is a musician who has to do his riyaz for 6 hours, if he is a student working into competitive exams, he has to study for n number of hours. Whatever work you do, wherever you are, you need discipline, you need self-discipline. Now, discipline is usually what is told to us: stand here, stand straight, wear a good dress. Going beyond that is self-discipline, which means you do things because you believe in it, because you feel that that is the right thing to do, even if nobody is observing you. And I think this is where we need to really, really work, that is self-discipline. And if we quote from the army, we have duties of 8 hours, 12 hours, 18 hours, even 24 hours. We are just standing on the border or in an ambush or fighting the terrorists continuously, maybe sometimes even without food and without water. Most of the time, there is nobody to observe us, nobody to tell us that do this. We are just given a responsibility and said, go and do it. And we do it because we are inculcated with this aspect of self-discipline, that it is the right thing to do and I'm going to do it whether somebody supervises me or not. That is the real crux. That's where things will start moving on their own. You don't need a policeman at a red light to keep telling you that stop at this line, stop behind this line, because it is for the safety of everybody. What happens when there is no police? Should we just jump the light and move on? So that's where real self-discipline comes in. And I want to really highlight today, connecting this aspect of self-discipline to the crisis which is going on in the world around us, because it's very, very relevant. If you just look at the countries which have managed to cut down the casualties and the deaths and the cases of coronavirus in the world, you'll find the names like Taiwan, Singapore, Japan, South Korea, and unfortunately the countries which are having a lot of cases, United States, Italy, Brazil, and now India. And what is the key difference here between these countries which I talked about earlier, which have got the least cases like Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Singapore? See, this is not to criticize, it is to learn. And what is the difference in these countries is self-discipline. You cannot have a government official standing outside every house telling us to wear a mask and keep a distance and not get into the celebrations or not get into birthday parties or marriage functions. It is each individual who has to realize my own responsibility to me, to my family, and to the community, to the country. Because if I save one infection, I am saving 1,000 chain reaction infections. I am saving myself and saving my country as well. This is where self-discipline comes in.
Sure.
Just a few days back, one of my course mates, that is, he's also an officer, he wanted some signature on my document. He came over to my house, but he didn't enter my house. Neither did I ask him. I could have asked him because we're meeting after 3 months. I could have asked him, come have a cup of tea and let's chat. I didn't. He also didn't. He stood at the gate. I signed the documents and we said hello, hi, and that's it. He went off. Because I'm aware of my duty to me, to my family, and to the country. He's also aware. This is self-discipline. Nobody was stopping us. We could have just chatted. Maybe nothing would have happened. This is where the real test of discipline comes in, when you are on your own and nobody is really supervising you. And I would say self-discipline is one of the very, 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 very important aspects of patriotism. So wherever you are, whether there is a principal or a teacher or a monitor monitoring you or not, I believe if you can inculcate this aspect of discipline and self-discipline, you become a better person. I became a better person because of the army. Even after I left the army, I am equally continuing with getting up in the morning and going for my walk or run, because it's there in me. Nobody's telling me to, with a whistle at 6 o'clock and say, get up and move out. It's on my own. I've taken up my challenges to stay fit. I did a 10-kilometer after I left the army. I did a 20. All this is after I left the army. The army never told me to run for 20 kilometers. And in 2017, for my 50th birthday, I took up my personal challenge that I'm going to do full marathon in Mumbai. I trained for it. I completed that in 5 hours, 15 minutes. That was my personal challenge. And all this discipline remains with me. Again, this is something which we need to keep driving ourselves, and this is what keeps us alive, thriving, and makes us better. We all want to excel in everything which we do, but these are the nuts and bolts of creating a better personality. And what better example to take on Kargil Vijay Divas Day than to seek example from the soldiers, from the heroes, from the martyrs, from whom we can look up to and absorb, take this example, get inspired, and apply these in our lives. Because I believe the real test of inspiring values is when we accept it and apply it in our lives. Otherwise, it is just information. It is not action. Information is good. Inspiration is good. Motivation is good. But the next step is imbibing it, putting it into our practice it may be a small thing, a small step, but daily application is what is the greatest tribute every citizen can give to the soldiers of the country. And the only way to reciprocate the sacrifice of a soldier is to imbibe the qualities of the soldier. Once again, I thank the principal and the students and everybody who's out here for inviting me here. It's been a real great pleasure to talk to you. And I believe that is there any opportunity for question answers? I would be glad to take that. Otherwise, thank you and Jai Hind to everybody.
Thank you so much, Colonel Riaz Khan. I don't think we could have heard from a better person, a soldier in spirit and in service. Thank you so much.